10 Haunting mystery of vehicles found intact underwater. Planes, trains and automobiles and tanks have all been found underwater by divers exploring the depth of lakes, reservoirs, and the Big Blue Sea, and some are almost completely intact along with the haunting skeletons of the fated occupants. Check out some of these amazing stories, some of which just pose more questions. Number 10. Mystery of 3 skeletons. 3 skeletons were found in each of these 2 cars which had been discovered in Lake Foss, Oklahoma. The Grizzly cars, both at least 40 years old, were discovered when the Oklahoma Highway Patrol Marine Enforcement Division were conducting training session involving new sonar technology. These 3 missing people pictured here were thought to have been in one of the cars. Perhaps the biggest mystery is that although the 2 cars were found almost next to each other and whilst each contained 3 bodies, by carbon dating the bodies, experts found that they had been sunk almost a decade apart. Number 9. Mystery of the Camaro. This is 16-year-old Jimmy Williams with his then brand new Camaro in 1970, unaware that he and his car would meet a watery grave and be undiscovered for 40 years. 18-year-old Thomas Rios and Leah Johnson were also in the car. It is not known if foul play was involved. Number 8. Mystery of the Green 1953 Chevy. This Chevrolet holds the remains of 2 men and a woman who went missing in April 1969. 69-year-old John Porter was traveling in a green 1953 Chevy with a sibling and a 58-year-old female friend when they all vanished. The vehicle submerged in about 12 feet, 3.6 meter of water, intact with its occupants. Deputies believe the remains found in the Chevy belonged to the people from Ouachita County. The remains was turned over to the medical examiner's office. Again, it is still not known if any foul play were involved in the deaths of the 3 occupants. Number 7. Mysterious ghost fleet of Truck Lagoon. A group of tropical paradise islands in the federal states of Micronesia offers adrenaline junkie scuba divers a cool yet creepy underwater adventure in shark-infested Pacific waters while wreck diving the mysterious ghost fleet of Truck Lagoon. More than 50 major shipwrecks from World War II litter the seabed, making the undersea wonder of the world, the best shipwreck diving destination on the globe. In 1944, Americans launched Operation Hailstone, which has been called the Japanese Pearl Harbor, and the bombardment lasted for 3 days. The attack wiped out 60 ships and 275 airplanes, sinking them to the bottom of the lagoon so that now it is the biggest ship graveyard in the world. Most of the wrecks were left untouched for nearly 25 years since people feared setting off the thousands of sunken bombs. Many of the shipwrecks in the scuba diving paradise have full cargo holds full of aircraft, tanks, bulldozers, railroad cars, motorcycles, torpedoes, mines, bombs, boxes of ammunitions, radios, thousands of various weapons, human remains, and other artifacts. Over 3,000 people were thought to have been killed, and some divers swear that the wrecks in Truck Lagoon are haunted. Divers recorded sounds of running engines in the cargo hold full of trucks. This is underwater awesomeness. Number 6. Mystery of 25 cars dumped some 50 feet below. In 2012, police found 25 cars dumped some 50 feet below the surface of Pembroke Park Lake in Broward County, Florida. These cars include a 1970 Dodge Demon, a 1979 Ford pickup and even a Cadillac. Since then, police have been using the wrecks as evidence in several cases of insurance fraud, missing persons, and even homicide. Number 5. Airplane Graveyard. Around 5 miles from Roynamore in the Marshall Islands lies this incredible World War II airplane graveyard. And unbelievably, the planes would have been dumped into the ocean off aircraft carriers and transport ships after the successful Pacific Campaign ended in victory for the U.S. in August 1945. More than 150 planes were dumped in the area, and they include Douglas SBD Dauntless Bomber, F-4U Corsair, and TBF-TBM Avengers. Number 4. Mystery of Sank Ship. Like it just sank yesterday. Suitcases, bicycles, wheelbarrows are perfectly preserved. 25 years after 500 Mecca pilgrims drowned when their ship sank in Red Sea, divers have taken an eerie look into the past after discovering the perfectly preserved remnants of a maritime disaster that killed hundreds of pilgrims 25 years ago. They have discovered packed suitcases, cars, television sets, a bicycle, and even a pushchair during a dive into the Red Sea, where the Salem Express sank in December 1991. The car, right, has even maintained some of its red paintwork while rust seems to have eaten away at the bodywork on the vehicle which was traveling on the ill-fated ship. Despite 25 years underwater, the items are all still perfectly recognizable and are the remnants from a tragedy that killed an estimated 470 people between Egypt and Saudi Arabia. Number 3. The remains of a Paola man who went missing more than 20 years ago were found in a submerged car at a Miami County lake. Tim Leeper of Olathe was fishing when his underwater sonar located the submerged vehicle in about 20 feet of water. The vehicle was found about 40 yards north of the lake's most popular boat ramp, but inside the car were the human remains of Mr. Fremont C. known as Dusty Oberg, who was 57 when he was reported missing in 1992. The car was a 1981 Chevrolet Citation which was registered to Oberg. He was still buckled in. Since Oberg was reported missing, there has been no reported sightings or leads on his location. An autopsy was conducted. The case is still under investigation, but authorities believe that Oberg has been in the water for the past 23 years. Oberg's disappearance had been Miami County's only active missing person case. Number 2. Mystery of a retired airman who disappeared 43 years ago. A rusty mud-caked sedan, pulled from the bottom of a lake in the foothills of the North Carolina mountains could bring closure to the family of a retired airman who disappeared 43 years ago. His wife said the police just thought he ran off with another woman. Investigators believe human remains found in a 1968 Pontiac Catalina recovered from Lake Rothis belonged to Amos Shook, who was reported missing on February 19, 1972. The model matches the car that belonged to Shook, and investigators found his identification and wallet in the car. Amazed us how preserved that stuff was. The four-door sedan showed some rust, but the windows were intact after it was pulled from the lake about 75 miles northwest of Charlotte. There were no signs of foul play. Shook, who was 44 when he disappeared, had retired from the U.S. Air Force and lived in the town of Sawmills, which lies just north of the lake. Number 1. Mystery of his disappearance solved. A body discovered in a car in the bottom of a Kansas lake has been identified as that of a Wisconsin man missing since 1984. The Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks found the car while testing new radar equipment in Lake Shawnee. The 1976 Oldsmobile 98 was pulled from the lake, near Topeka. The Shawnee County Sheriff's Office announced the remains inside were those of 84-year-old Milwaukee resident Leonard Jordan. Jordan was an avid fisherman who enjoyed fishing Lake Shawnee while visiting relatives in Topeka. Jordan's great-great-nephew Willie Wilkins says the family is grateful to have the mystery of his disappearance solved. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more.